There's an assumption that big following equals big business. And I need you to know that is not true. It's 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 not true. Hello and welcome to the Inner Game of Entrepreneurship podcast. I'm your host, Sarah. And today I want to talk to you about measuring the metrics that matter. Something that I've been hearing a lot online and with potential clients. I've been running this ad to my DMs. So I've been having way more conversations with entrepreneurs than I usually do in an average month. And I've been hearing a lot of people talk about the things they're focused on in their business that aren't working. And the main things that I keep hearing coming up are focused on growing their social media following, focused on how do I get more engagement? How do I get more followers? How do I get more shares? How do I get more comments? And then also on their websites and I started my business. I started offering my services. I had a little bit of success, but then I wasn't really getting sales. And so I rebuilt my whole website and I redid my logo and I redid my design and I did some SEO optimization, but I'm still not seeing a difference. And the thing that I want you to know is that there is so much advice out there for how to grow your business online that is not helpful. And the reason that it's not helpful is that most of it is not teaching you how to grow a business. It's teaching you how to grow a following on social media. And those are not the same things. So a lot of programs, how to grow your following on Instagram, how to grow a huge following on TikTok, they are not teaching you how to grow a business. They are specifically geared toward exactly what it says, grow your following. And people think that if you have a big following on social media, that it immediately means you're going to have high sales in your business, that followers just somehow magically translates to money. There's an assumption that big following equals big business. And I need you to know that is not true. It's 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 not true. And it has so many business owners focused on the wrong thing, focused on becoming content creators. So a lot of the advice that's given that's about growing your following is advice that's beneficial if you want to be a professional content creator. That is a real job. I don't know anything about it. If you're interested in being a professional content creator, I'm not the coach for you. I don't know how to help you. I don't know anything about growing a following. Don't know anything about growing a platform, clearly, because I don't have a huge platform. But I do know about building businesses. And content creation as a business is about monetizing your content, and it's about brand deals. So if your goal is to be a professional content creator where you're growing a social media based following to the degree that you start getting brand deals and sponsorships, you're not going to make a ton of money from content. Even people who have like huge followings don't make a lot of money from the platforms themselves off of their monetized content, but you make most of your money from brand deals. So if that's your goal, I want to be a huge content creator. I want to be an influencer. I want to get brand deals. Then absolutely go take courses and learn from people who are trying to teach you how to build an online following. However, if your goal is to sell a product or service that you make and you're trying to use social media for marketing, then none of those things matter. When it comes to your email list, you know what else doesn't matter? Clicks. Opens are important. We want to see that. But like your clicks, your engagement doesn't matter. There's only two metrics that matter in business. Really, there's two. The first is sales, and the second is repeat sales. That's it, and that's all. Focusing on content creation takes you out of doing the thing that you're good at and puts you in the realm of trying to learn how to be a content creator in the hopes that somehow building a following is going to automatically grow your business. However, the thing that matters is not how many followers you have if your goal is to run a business. The thing that matters is how many sales are you making. are you making sales? You can make a significant number of sales and a lot of money in your business without a large following. One of my coaches made over $500,000 with less than 1,000 followers in a year. Less than 1,000 followers. I made six figures in my business before I had 1,000 followers on Instagram. I have now made over seven figures in my business. I still don't have 1,000 email subscribers to my email list because the thing that I'm focused on is sales first, and the second is repeat sales. And the reason I think that those two things matter, obviously sales matter. The reason I think repeat sales matter is because that's really about your delivery. That's about, do clients have such a good experience with me that they come back and buy again, that they want to refer their friends to me, that they are loyal to my business? Because it is a lot easier and cheaper to keep a customer than it is to get a new one. So when you're focused on sales and then repeat sales, it doesn't matter how big your following is. It doesn't matter how many people are, responding to your emails, leaving comments on your Instagram, how much people are telling you that you're great. Doesn't matter how many likes you get. What we're focused on is customers, acquiring customers, closing deals, and then keeping those people happy so that they keep coming back. That is the metric of a healthy business. And I think that one of the reasons a lot of people want to focus on content creation and putting out more passive marketing and then sitting back and waiting for customers to come to them is actually because they feel insecure about sales. Is that sales feels confronting. Going out and having direct conversations with people, making offers, directly inviting people into my work in a really direct, specific way. I have a thing, it's for sale. The day to join is this day, it's closing on this day. Reaching out to people directly and saying, hey, I know that we had this exchange on this post and I would love to offer you blah, blah, blah. Direct selling. A lot of people feel very uncomfortable making offers and having direct sales conversations with potential customers. And so what they're hoping is I can make a bunch of content, get a bunch of attention for my content, and then people will sell themselves. If you've heard me talk about this before, it's like the idea that somebody's going to show up at your house, at your party, and they've never been here before. They're going to walk into your kitchen, open your fridge, and serve themselves. Not really likely. And if they did, you'd think they were rude. It's our job as the host to offer people. Your business is your party. You're the host. It's your job to offer people things. Hoping that they're going to serve themselves so that you can stay leaned back and stay passive and never have to do anything that's uncomfortable for you because you have weird feelings about selling and you feel like you're being salesy or pushy, or there's something in you that feels exposed when you're making direct, specific offers, when you're talking online about your offers, when you're sending emails about your offers. You feel weird about selling. So you're hoping you can just make enough high value, educational, helpful, catchy content that people will go to your link tree, go to your website, read everything, pick something and buy. And it's not working for a lot of people. And then when it's not working, they are upset and they think, okay, well, I just need more followers, right? That must be the problem. I need more people. I mean, it doesn't help your business. And all it does is take you away from focusing on the one metric that matters in terms of your bottom line, which is, have I made enough sales to pay my bills? Have I made enough sales to pay my rent or my mortgage this month? Have I made enough sales to cover my operating costs? Have I made enough sales to reinvest back in the business? And if the answer is no, then your business is objectively not working. If it's not making money, it's not working. And if it's not making money, the issue is not followers, it's sales. If you have 100 followers on social media right now and all you're doing is focusing on how to get more followers instead of selling to the 100 people you got, you're missing an opportunity. It also, back to the party analogy, is like having a party where a handful of people show up and you ignore those people and sit by the door and go, how come there's not more people here? I thought this was going to be a bigger party. The people that I want aren't here yet. The cool kids aren't here yet. How unfair, how dismissive is it to the people who showed up for you not to serve them, not to offer them anything, not to ask if they want a drink, not to ask if they want snacks, not to ask if they're having fun, to just completely ignore them because you're so worried about whether or not more people are going to come so that you can feel more popular versus serving the people who are showing up for you to the best of your ability and making sure they have the best possible time. You're being a crappy host. If you are ignoring the followers you have and saying, these people don't count, they followed me for a different reason, they're not interested, they're not going to like it, whatever way I've heard people talk themselves out of serving the people in their existing audience and instead being continually focused, no matter how many new followers they get, on why they don't have a bigger following, why they need a bigger following, why a bigger following is going to give them the thing that they want. It's not. The other thing I need you to know is I have worked with people who have very large followings, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, in some case, 1 million cross-platform followers who were not making any money. If this logic held up, it would stand to reason that everyone with a large following would inherently be making a lot of money in their business. It doesn't work that way because you can have a large following and still feel weird about sales and still be completely passive about sales. I had a client who had nearly 1 million followers across platforms. And this client was doing exactly what I described. They knew how to make content go viral. They knew how to bring in followers. They knew how to engage with their audience. And then they had a website that had some offers on it. It was really hard to figure out how to buy things on the website. You had to email, you had to ask, how do I buy this? How do I do that? They didn't have easy payment options set up. They didn't have online booking set up for appointments. People didn't know what the offers were that they had. Everything was really disorganized. So they were not making almost any money online, even though they had this really large following and they knew how to continually gain followers. I have worked with clients who had a really large following who tried to launch a product in the past and that launch flopped and they lost money because people can like looking at you and they can like listening to you, but not trust you enough to buy from you. That's a totally different type of content that you create to make people trust you enough to buy from you. It's also worth considering that the product you're launching, if you have a large following, matters even more because if your offer isn't really aligned with the audience you've built and it doesn't make sense to them, and it's not a subject matter they trust you on, you could potentially damage that brand in such a way that if you launch another thing, they won't buy that either because they think the first one was sus. So having a large following doesn't inherently mean that if you try to sell something, you're going to be successful. It almost means there's more pressure on your first launch to be put together and executed correctly from offer to execution because there's more eyes on you and your brand and reputation stands to take a bigger hit if you don't do the first one well. When you have no following, you have a lot more space and room to experiment and mess up because there's less eyes on you and less people are going to know about it. People following me now don't know about the programs that I launched one time that didn't go very well in 2015. They're not clocking for that. They're not checking because I had 40 followers when I launched that program. And so it doesn't matter that it wasn't that good of a launch or that I never launched that program again. It doesn't matter because I kept going and because I had more space to experiment. The fewer eyes you have on you, now is the time to be doing experimentation, to be launching offers, to be trying things out, and to test out offers that you may or may not run again. It's different when you have a huge platform. You are flopping on a much larger scale when things flop, and you do risk that it could tarnish your reputation in such a way that those people don't come back if you try to launch something again. Now, I've also worked with people who have a really large following who, once we addressed their sales reticence and we built a proper backend and constructed an offer that was aligned with the personal brand that they had built, that they've made over 20 grand in a couple of weeks off of a low ticket offer. It can be done really successfully. But still, the thing that I had to coach that person on was preparing themselves mentally and emotionally for the fact that the type of engagement they were going to see on direct sales content was going to be lower than the type of engagement they saw on their viral content. And I was saying to them, what you're going to see is that you're going to get less likes, less shares, less comments, less engagement on the posts where you're directly talking about the thing you're selling. And I don't want you to freak out because you're used to your posts getting a certain amount of traction and go, oh no, this quote unquote isn't working. Let me stop doing sales content and go back to doing my viral content, because you will always see less engagement on direct sales content. But engagement is not the metric that matters on sales content. What we're looking at is, did they buy? Did it convert people? And there was an emotional thing the client had to go through with recognizing, oh, when I don't get a certain amount of movement on a post, I panic and I don't like it. I like getting the certain amount of attention. I like getting a certain amount of comments, likes, shares, engagement on a post. And when I don't get that, I get worried that my audience isn't getting what they want and I'm not getting the attention that I want. And I do feel tempted to stop selling and go back to just making the type of viral content that I know gets me the metrics I'm used to tracking. But that does not help me make money. If your goal is to have a healthy business, the metrics to track are sales and repeat sales. Your following will grow if you are consistently sharing, but it doesn't even need to grow a lot. And you don't have to use social media at all. You could be growing with ads. There's a lot of different ways that you can be generating traffic into your offers that is not about being a content creator. I also know people who have 7-figure businesses, and if you looked at their social media, you would have no idea because their business is built through ad spend. So if you're going to go the organic route, right, there's 2 ways you can build a traffic source to your offer. One is organic and one is paid. Organic is going to take more time, feels a little bit more passive. Paid, obviously, you're going to put in money up front. You're buying those leads, but it takes less time and it's a little bit less mysterious. You know right away if things are working or not. All of this is a really perfect example of a situation where what I call the 6 essential systems for scaling. This is the framework that I teach with my clients. It's the framework I teach in Powerhouse Mastermind. The 6 essential systems for scaling are out of whack in someone's business. So they are entirely focused on audience growth, which is one system that is essential, but they're not at all focused on lead generation or sales. So they're overdeveloped. They're bloated in the audience growth area. They're putting too much focus, too much time, too much effort, too much energy into audience growth and frequently overcomplicating it. So they're trying to grow on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube. They're trying to grow everywhere. They're trying to grow on LinkedIn. They're like, if I can just get more people, then I'm going to make more money. But there's not usually a clear system in place to move people from audience to lead and from lead to sale. So the lead generation system and the sales system are underdeveloped, and the audience growth system is being overly focused on. And that makes the business out of balance. If you imagine the 6 essential systems being like a seesaw, like a teeter-totter, it's too heavy on one end, everything is starting to tip. And we need to spread the effort out evenly across all 6 systems to start seeing things flow from one end to the other, from audience growth to lead to customer to repeat customer. Auditing a business to see which of the 6 essential systems is running efficiently, which is overbloated, which is neglected, and how to balance them is one of the main things that I do with entrepreneurs when they come into Powerhouse Mastermind. I'm going to be going much more in depth into the 6 essential systems at the event that I have coming up called Scaling Simplified. It is on May 12th. You can sign up at intuitiveedgecoaching.com/simplified. And I'm going to be going deeper into how to track the metrics that really matter and how to recognize when you've been overly focused on a metric that doesn't actually help you grow your business and what to do about it. at this event. So I'm going to put the link for that in the show notes. I hope that this was helpful for you. That's what I have for you today. If this was helpful for you, please leave a review. Review the show. It really, really helps. And follow the show's Instagram at Inner Game of Entrepreneurship Pod. Is that what it is? I don't know. I'll put the link to our Instagram in the show notes as well. You can also follow me on Instagram at Intuitive Edge Coaching. You can email me, intuitiveedgecoaching@gmail.com. Get yourself signed up for Scaling Simplified, intuitiveedgecoaching.com/simplified. And I will see you on May 12th. Okay, love you. Bye.
That's our episode for today. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this. I know there are so many things that you could be doing with your day, so many things you could be listening to, and it means so much that you are here in this community. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment, share it on social media, and tag me at Intuitive Edge Coaching. Share it with a biz bestie who you think needs to hear it and will appreciate it. And take a moment to to subscribe, and to leave a 5-star review wherever you are listening. It helps me grow this show, and it helps us grow and sustain this brilliant community of entrepreneurs dedicated to doing the inner work. Thank you so much for being here. Okay, love you. Bye.